Oh madoda. Oh, indoni namadoda. Kuthethwa kangaphi nanani? Sukumani kaloku. Madoda sukumani kaloku. Into engazange yabonwa njengeqaqa ubuhlakani njengeqaqa xa liziqaqaqa eqokweni.
Ubuhlakani obunomlilo. Yithi ubulumko budibana nomlilo. Yithi ubulumko budibana nomlilo. Ukhupha ubulumko bunomlilo. Ithetha ngantoni? Izalazo sivela.
You're your hero.
Yes.
Why?
Because I believe in myself and I believe I've, accomplished a lot of things. Therefore, I believe life is your own battle. And I believe in having mentors and people to look up to. But at the end of the day, I do my best in what I can do. Therefore, I become my hero.
We started Vega and gave it the name Vega as it is a navigational star, one of the bright navigational stars in the constellation Lyra, which is a hop. And I think Vega is really a vessel for celebrating ideas, celebrating the human imagination, and perhaps most of all, celebrating the exponents of great ideas. The rebels, the mavericks, the retrobates, the miscreants.
When I was younger, I probably was a bit of a rebel without a cause, and Vega kind of taught me how to constructively use those things to benefit society in a bigger way without necessarily having to go with the flow all the time.
I think I've tried to collect a team that makes up all of those, if not maestros and some legends.
Journeys in body and spirit are life-defining experiences. They start off as a rumble, as a burning desire, and manifest in bold visions and quests. Journeys burst into life with a passion and a drive to achieve. They infuse, move, and unite people. Journeys are explorative and ignite the human imagination. They push parameters and are ever restless. Vega is a life-defining journey. Magic.
And really, Vega is giving young people the space to play, the space to express themselves, and it's really a challenge against so much of the education system. I really believe a lot in Paula Freire, that education has built into it a lot of oppression, a lot of structure, a lot of can't do, don't do. And I think Vega is more about can do, let's challenge, let's ask the questions, find the problems, and less about finding right answers.
Vega allows me to explore beyond my boundaries.
It's the whole understanding that everybody's got an imagination, everybody at Vega's got imagination to the power of 10. So it's sort of being able to not only think of something, but also make it visual. Actually, something that was in my head yesterday could be on screen tomorrow for everybody to see.
We started Vega as a leap of faith, and I think maybe one of the only education institutions that was really sold off-plan. It was just a golfing range with one large cow and a family of guinea fowl. And it was quite difficult to convince parents that this was a school. Vega as a business has also challenged a lot of a business model. I think a business really is about doing good and less about a fixation on profit.
I think that agencies haven't changed since the 70s, and I think that there's a hierarchical structure that still persists. And if we don't start becoming more entrepreneurial in the way that we approach agencies, where we're actually going to have a problem in the future, and we can see that happening already.
Obviously there's a huge need for education, and that's the only way you're going to rectify the imbalances in society.
I think what has shone through is the fact that everyone involved seems to practice what you preach.
We have these yardsticks and measurements that we meter people with, and it's sad because they then have to conform. And yet you should find an environment where you can create a zone where people can be themselves. And if you had to go by Jack Welch saying that vision is the art of seeing things invisible. Now, that's the place where you're going to get change. That's the place where you're going to get cutting edge. That's the place where people are going to make a difference.
I think that if you see the sophistication coming through in what should be marketing thinking today, marketing has gone to the branding level.
A brand specialist school is not just a good idea, it's an essential idea.
But it's not advertising, this is about ideas. It's about ideas and how you peel those ideas out and connect with the consumer. Forget advertising.
I think before we get into, say, the product, it's a lot of the stuff has to happen up here. That's really the cutting edge. That's the acid test between doing exceptionally well and not doing well.
I think it's a double-edged sword training, because I think the training's never been better. The equipment you guys use, the people who are lecturing you, the standards are really high.
The training that we've got at Vega is actually too appropriate. I've actually learned more at Vega than I think I could learn at any other place. I actually feel kind of overqualified.
And I think if anything you can do is learn the rules to know how to break them.
The student placement program, all the time, anytime that Vega students come to us, we're absolutely blown away as well by their level of commitment and professionalism. And certainly the talent that comes out of Vega and the professionalism of the way the school is run, all the facilities, all the edgy new ways of doing things really does make this school, in my opinion, not just the best in the Southern Hemisphere, but possibly the best on the planet.
Vega students generally are able to hit the ground running far quicker than students from generally the other schools. They arrive and we find within a very short space of time of them having been with us, they're up to speed. You know, they're resources that can add value.
The one thing that I have learned, which I would pass on to anyone, is you have to completely ignore all the kind of mantras and the dictates of education, of commerce, of everything, and just do what you believe in.
Vega's been quite intense. It's been a lot of hard work, but it definitely felt worth it. Each year it feels like I've learned more, like within that space of time.
Vega approach to education really has a lot to do with colour, playfulness, and I think most of us see learners as having within them a creative river, and our task really is to feed the tributaries.
I love colour, and I think colour just makes us beautiful, and we should all just get involved with colour.
Every time they have an exhibition here, I actually come just to walk around and have a look at what the students have done. And every year the work can look better and better. It improves with every single year. Brilliant stuff.
I think there's a philosophy within Vega which has grown phenomenally over the last couple of years that has taught students and people associated with Vega that pride comes from within.
I love it. I just enjoy it. You know, when you find out that you're good at something, you know, you just want to explore it more and more.
We do see Vega endeavoring to be the Harvard of brand communications, so we are benchmarking ourselves against world-class institutions.
The ability to teach and to get students to think out of the box. We've got some wonderful ideas. Let's start living here in Africa. Let the youth develop those things, and I think that's what Vega is doing.
Now and then I get asked what drives me. And I think I'm really driven by the fact that I'm never really satisfied about much. And I always have really believed that life does work on the edge. I think education is meant to be more of an open road with various pathways leading off to explore and investigate. The people I invite to join me at Vega usually scare me. A lot of what the learners do scare me. I think being scared is not being satisfied, not being comfortable. And I think there is danger in being too organized.
A magical and energetic imbalance exists in the Vega navigators. There's not only the desire to share a wealth of knowledge and real-life experience, to engineer and pilot the plans. There's also a very real and honest need to share in the journey, to grow as individuals, to push parameters, to innovate and to create meaningful change. We may navigate the student voyage, but we stand in the shadow of their individual achievements.
It represents the magical and mystical side of Vega, because you can learn creativity techniques and you can put the 6 thinking hats on and learn how to brainstorm and mind map and etc. But when a great idea comes, it usually arrives in a puff of smoke. It's completely magical. And I think Vega creates an environment that's conducive to these magical mistakes and happy coincidences.
And I really do believe that we live our brand mantra, wisdom with magic. And there is nothing more inspiring than seeing it live through our students.
The first time I really encountered that thing of power of images, and it's with my grandmother, who, as kids, we had to sit around the kitchen table, and if she had to step out for a moment, take a phone call or whatever, she used to take her false teeth out of her mouth and put them on the table in front of us. And we sat there mesmerized and dead quiet. And as soon as she came back into the room, she put them back into her mouth, and none of the terror that was contained in those teeth were ever contained in her smile.
The fields of education are permanently changing, and they're evolving and they're developing, and Vega is really keeping ahead of that. We make sure that our lectures go to international conferences and that our students take part in international competitions. And I think at the same time as that, it's very important that Vega establish itself as a leading national institution, and that we not only benchmark ourselves against the international education arena, but that we also bench ourselves nationally, and we strive to be a leading college in brand education in South Africa.
I cannot getting out. I'm here to stay.
I'm a country girl, so
I value my cultures. I'm motivated by life itself. I love love. Beauty, creativity, wisdom, and to be around Vega, I think it's a privilege to me.
The thing that motivates me the most is the concept of authenticity, finding a personal, unique, individual expression. On the most basic level, all of us are energy, and energy is basically sound. And I believe that each of us has a unique resonance, an energy or a frequency that we resonate at.
If you're not happy in what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be waiting for some day when you have enough money to be doing what you want to do. If you're actually one of the lucky people who know what you want to do, good Lord, do it.
It's not about being precious. It's not about being sacred about what you're doing. It's about the journey and the process that you have to discover. And every mistake that you make will lead you to next things, will lead you to new discoveries. So it's not about the perfect end product, but it's about the journey, it's about the experience, it's about the passion.
The whole battle is between individuality and becoming part of the collective, to use terminology from Star Trek.
Well, what motivates me is the idea of questioning, finding the questions and the things that we're not seeing, that can say things that you'll have to edit.
It's about students that are all so different, and every staff member has that little idiosyncrasy that is my food, so it becomes not a job but a lifestyle. Balance and cooperation for me are symbolic of life in general. The precarious balance that each of us faces on a daily basis, and that is that suspension between the promise of unity and eternity. What I really want to do is to find the resting place in between.
Probably the most scary thing on earth is a blank page which you have to fill, because somehow people get evaluated on what they filled in, and then so many decide rather not to fill in anything and to fail by that than filling in. And in a weird way, our students walk in as blank pages which need to be filled. And what we then do is we keep on handing them blank pages to fill, and thereby discovering. And then the next step, once they've done it and filled the pages, is then to realize that it's not precious, that it was the process of getting there that was precious. Like this degree of mine, which took 4 years to fill. It was getting there and discovering while getting there, not the paper that means anything.
That you celebrate them as individuals, that we're here certainly not to make them who we want them to be, but to guide them and set them free.
There exists such magical richness in our South African identity, in the wealth of raw images and in the wisdom of our stories. The students' explorations and idea developments in these territories reveal a pride and a bold honesty that often astounds us. And to ultimately observe how their creative ideas evolve and grow into powerful brand communication pieces through the myriad of digital media platforms at Vega is a very real demonstration of how worlds have merged.
It's probably the premium funnel for young talent into our industry in the country, because we have very little use for those focused niche kind of skills where digital is taught as an island, and the students who participate in that teaching think of digital as an island, because we don't.
Apple and Vega form a very good partnership because we feel that they're using state-of-the-art technology. They are preparing students for the future of what this industry holds for us.
But the really cool Apple Macs and the grads rooms, I'm waiting to get my hands on those.
Is bright. There's perceived to be the best school, not sometimes I'm saying it. I think the caliber of students over the few years that's come out of here has definitely been world class. And I think, me personally, most of my students that I've employed are all been from Vega.
I don't think there's a huge appreciation of what good design is. I don't think there's a culture of design education amongst kind of the masses in South Africa. So I don't think that the majority of your corporates actually know what's good and what's bad, and more often than not they think good is what they've seen before, and the law of averages states that there's so much crap out there that what they've seen before probably isn't good.
And I think what's happening in the boardrooms of today in our big corporates and whatnot is that the directors of companies in South Africa and abroad are asking for more tangible evidence.
And I think if we want to be competitive in the global market, we have to look inwards before we look outwards. Yes, we have to be world class, we have to meet their standards, but in terms of integrity, in terms of innovation, I think there are huge undiscovered secrets, potential in this country.
Everyone wants to be famous in London or New York, and in order to be famous in London or New York, you have to do London or New York. I've always found a ridiculous philosophy, because the Swedes do Swedish better than anyone else, and we do African better than anyone else.
Where the product starts, where everything starts, and you get to build this whole thing from just one little idea.
It's been continually amazing, I think, to be a part of it, to watch it grow and transform and metamorphose into what the future needs. The quality is fantastic and coming through, and that's hugely encouraging to an old cynic like myself.
It's able to bring people together from different parts of the world.
You spend sort of sometimes 18 hours a day with the same 11 people. You make an enormous impact on each other's lives, and not just on your daily routines, but the way that you think and the way that you see things.
The lecturers of Vega have challenged people, have not sat back, have continuously innovated, have continuously come up with new thinking.
They managed to push buttons in me that I didn't really know were there, but once they were pushed, I just kind of snowballed into the space to think and be who I want to be. I'm saying that if you have a dream, if you have something that you want to accomplish, you almost have to put it out there to make it real, and the rest follows.
There are many challenges facing all of us. When we began, we were not mainstream. We were the maverick and the rebel, and in a way that's a lot easier, and we're becoming mainstream. And the challenge really is to deal with real pressures to regulate, to standardize, to commoditize, to bureaucratize. And I think we all feel the pressures, and so long as one remains aware of them and holds them off,
we'll be fine, but there are significant challenges.
I would change the name of that school. What do you call it? It's the Vega School of Communication, Brand Communication. It should be the Vega School of Great Ideas.
It is. Forces of an eternal doom, and the outcome lies in your very own hands. The rest is beyond the control of any man, and you wear out your mind when you try to understand. So focus on the moment, do the best that you can. The cruelty and the beauty is that good times end, and the beauty lies in holding on to memories and friends. We'll hook up one day, you know I'll see you again. That much is for sure, I'm just not sure when. Remember these eyes until I see you again. I just can't be sure when. Remember my face, cause I'ma see you again. We'll hook up for sure, I just can't be sure when. You gotta step back, regain perspective, and think about what matters, you'll become reflective. We're all a small part of a greater collective, and I'm saying what I'm saying on my elective.
This track is dedicated to the Vega experience. Everybody who I know, all my teachers, all my friends, even the people I didn't like. And thanks, it was a trip. Mizzy, you were a trip too.
There's never any telling how life will be. Could be getting an award up in Germany, and then things go wrong very horribly, and you have to come home for some brain surgery.
Ooh, that's right.
Speak to my man, Mr. John Lennon, because his approach really inspires me.
That's so bad.
My problems are time, so stop. Take a minute. Take a look at your life and all the good things in it. Take a look at the sky and take a look at yourself. And thank your God for your friends and your health, and realize that life itself equals wealth. That's what I'm saying. Life itself equals wealth. That's what I'm saying. Your life's your wealth. You gotta step back, regain perspective, and think about what matters. You'll become reflective. We're all a small part of a greater collective, and I'm saying what I'm saying on my elective. Me and Mizzy, we give a shout out to Ben. Taking this chance to say we're glad to know y'all. Hold up your heads and always stand tall. All you lecturing cats, we gonna miss you. Even Kevin, though he might sometimes diss you. Au revoir, so long. Keep it real, stay strong. And remember the road is roughest at the front, and the leaders, they always find themselves the targets on the hunt. You're beautiful. And you know the way, so don't cry for us, cause we'll be back one day. Tomorrow's always brighter than yesterday, but you might have to work to make it that way. Mr. Gordon Laws, lovely. Okay. Thank you very much. Goodbye, y'all. Goodbye, y'all. Love you. Try to interrupt my ad-libs.
Indoni na madoda. Kuthethwa kangaphi nanani? Sukumani kaloku. Madoda sukumani kaloku. Into engazange yabonwa njengeqaqa ubuhlakani. Njengeqaqa qala izinto enkadeka. Sukumani kaloku, madoda sukumani kaloku.